Pitbull has this great song where it's like, ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. He says that in his lyric because he's been there before. With Sam, Ryan, how you guys doing?
All good.
Fantastic.
How about you?
Cool. I'm doing incredible. Tell me about the business.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Perfect. I'll start here. Thank you very much. So we're building Rise is the first fintech for B2B in Canada. We're providing the corporate card that provide services in terms of credit limit for credit cards specifically. So you're a startup, you just raise funds. Eventually you need to apply for credit cards, right? If you go to the traditional way of getting credit card, there's a traditional way of getting it, right? 2 years history, personal guarantee for the founders.
I've been there, yep.
Exactly. So actually we thought about like a better solution for this. So why not providing a credit card based on the balance of the business as of today?
Got it. So you use the cash in the bank account as security to back the credit card.
Exactly.
Got it.
Based on that, we provide a lot of tools, a lot of features in terms of accounting integration, which should save a lot of time for the founders and startups, business tools, issuing cards for corporate, for employees and anything else.
And the company's called Rise?
Yes.
Perfect. What stage are you guys at today?
At the very beginning. So we are building the MVP, and eventually we have a deadline of launching the product by end of July, so beginning of August.
Got it. All right. What questions do you have for me?
All right. So the first question that we have here is, so in order to get the licenses and everything else, right? We had like the chicken and the egg problem, right? So in order to have these funds, we need to have some traction before. And in order to have some traction, we need to have the licenses already in place. So if you have this problem, how would you solve it?
I find a partner that already has the licenses, and then they become the credibility for me to bootstrap on them until I can build enough volume to be able to go direct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've used that quite a bit.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. The second question I have here, what is the best way to pre-sell fintech services? Because our business model is interchange fees at the beginning. Later on, we gotta launch our premium account, right? So we can charge monthly SaaS fees. So how would you pre-sell fintech services?
So a few things, Ryan. I would suggest that you don't call it fintech services to a business owner because they don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. So one of my rules in marketing is, we got to use what's called echo marketing, meaning what our customers would call it is what we call it, right? So if I presented your solution to a startup and I say, what do you call that? I just describe what it does. What do you call that? They're going to say, so you're telling me it's a way for me to get credit card approval when I can't? Yeah. Okay. Now I know that you have all these other things that it could do, right? And this is where I get a lot of founders, they talk about their blockchain, their AI, their, whatever, and tokens. And the reality of it is at the end of the day, you solve a problem for a customer, they describe that problem and that solution. How you do it is up to you, right? We don't even get the chance to describe or talk about that if they don't buy. So sometimes we need to just, it's called chocolate broccoli. We need to sell the chocolate. And once they come into our world, we can give them the broccoli, which is all the stuff they don't even know they need because they've never had the chocolate in the first place. So they don't realize they need the broccoli.
Understand.
So what I do is the way I pre-sell anything is first define what are the 3 features that you think is important to the market, right? So credit card approval, easily manage multiple accounts, and use it as a line of credit potentially. Your decision, I don't know, but that's an idea that I would be like, okay, these 3 things are interesting. Then I would go and I'd talk to the ideal customer, right? In your case, it sounds like funded startups. So exactly. What I would do is I'd call up all the funded startups in Canada, or like the accelerators that would know who the funded startups are. I would explain to them what I'm doing and ask them for advice. I go in for the advice angle because when you ask people for advice, they then give you the answer that they would do, which gets them bought into the solution, which then gets them committed to seeing you succeed, which then gets them asking, hey, do you want me to make some introductions for you? Whereas if you go in asking for the introductions, they're going to tell you all the things that need to be true for you to get a good introduction, but they're not going to offer to make it. Sounds hilarious. It's how the world works. Pitbull has this great song. I don't know the song. I should get the song name, but he has this lyric where it's like, ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. He says that in his lyric because he's been there before, right? And to me, that's kind of the same premise, is ask for advice, get anything. Then you get in front of these companies and you do the same thing. You do a customer discovery call. A customer discovery call is completely different than a sales call. The beauty, though, is a customer discovery call can turn into a sales call, meaning that you go in trying to learn. The most valuable asset that a startup can get is learning. So it's not about revenue. It's not about raising money. It's not about hiring team members. The most important thing that I can learn as a startup, if I've got an idea, is about the market. That's why I tell a lot of early stage founders is find an agency that's currently doing this for your target market, because they would have so much rich knowledge around the problem set and the solution set and the intricacies of what you're trying to build. Because as a consultant, they're in there, right? They know when I presented X solution to the customer, they said this. They know that we've tried to do this that way and it didn't work, or this worked, or this is the way we figured it out here. It can only work in this scenario, et cetera. So there's just a lot of learning there. I'm giving you a lot, but I thought that this would be valuable. But once I talk to those companies, I do the customer discovery call, which is a series of questions. You can Google. I have a whole list of questions on the internet. And at the end of that, once you've learned, so that's why I say you can end on the sales call. You can't start on the sales call, because if you go on the sales call, you're essentially selling, you're not learning nothing. Okay. But if you start with the discovery, at the end, you can transition into a sales process, which typically they're going to, you go in for advice, ask, questions, understand their problems, understand the potential solution, blah, blah. Then you go, well, I'd love to tell you about how we're thinking of solving that. Would you be interested? They go, of course. That's your open. Then you go, well, here's the things I heard you say, and here's the way we're looking at solving it. And you mind if I do a demo? You pull up your clickable prototype, okay? Even if it's not real product, a clickable prototype is way better than words, right? Share your screen, show your phone, here's how it works. They go, that's amazing. Then you make your offer. What we're doing now is we've got a thing called the early adopter program, or the inner circle, or the founders group, or whatever you want to call it. You can give it a cool name, pick one of those three if I gave you, but every different clients call it different things for whatever reason. But early adopter program, the EAP is a good one, especially for enterprise. And the way it works is we're looking for 25 early customers to come on board to help co-create this. And because they're supporting that co-creation, here are the things that they get as benefits. They get 12 months, no fees. They get access to the customer advisory board. They get mentioned on our website as part of the launch as an innovator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We do a monthly call with other people in the financial industry, not fintech, because they don't know what that is, financial industry, that focus specifically with startups. So figure out what's valuable to the startup. Maybe they want to get access to Series A investors, and you can grab 6 of those Series A investors and have a monthly call so that they can understand. Like, there's a bunch of stuff you could do to make the offer. And they got to pay for it, though. Okay. And then you pre-sell, right? The key is don't make the offer not about your software so much so that people will buy it just for the other stuff, and it doesn't give you true customer validation on the product.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people make that mistake. And then you have a signal issue where you thought you had something, but you didn't. You're just really good at selling and creating offers. People bought it because of the thing, for $500, you can get a 1-hour call with Mark Cuban. 100% people buy. And you're like, yeah, it's a winner. It's like, no, they bought because of this unrealistic offer that is worth the $500, not because they want your software.
Exactly.
And usually the discount, it's 12 months for 50%. So if you're charging $100 a month for your SaaS, it's $1,200 for the year. If you're part of the early adopter program, it's only $600. But they got to pay for the whole year up front. If you take 20, 25 sales and you go to a partner that can issue the cards and you can show them that, that's going to open the door, right? And that's where a lot of people always argue with me. You can't pre-sell you can't pre-sell social networks. You can't pre-sell enterprise software, blah, blah. It's just not true. Okay. There's crowdfunding happens every day. It's like a, I don't know, $18 billion a year market. I don't know. I'm making that number up, but it's big. Okay. People crowdfund stuff that ain't real every day. It's not easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. The harder it is, this is the fun part, Ryan. I just want to share this. The harder the process is for you, the more excited you should be, because when you figure it out, you'll know that everybody else gave up along that journey.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah, most people don't realize that. When I'm working on something, like really trying to crack the nut around some kind of distribution channel or monetization strategy or whatever it is, go to market, anything, and it's hard, and a thing I thought was going to work was going to be a layup ends up not being a layup, I'm like, yes, because I'm going to figure it out. I have confidence in my ability to problem solve. And when I figure it out, I know that my competitors would have gave up, because this is ridiculous that it doesn't work, because it should work. So just know that, because you're going to be littered with that. And it's just, that's the perspective that allows you to go from problem to problem or failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. People say that, it's a quote, right? I think it's Einstein or whoever, Thomas Edison. It's like, success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. They don't give you the mindset reframe that's required. And it's just truth. It's literally, the harder it is, the less competitors are going to be at the top.
Thank you very much. Thanks. As we mentioned, we are building the MVP. We're launching hopefully end of July, beginning of August. So eventually we gotta raise some funds eventually for this, because it's a huge expenses even for us. So we are building the tool that would like to use pretty much. So based on your videos, because I'm a big fan of you, YouTube and all the stuff, there's pre-seed, there's seed, there's seed. After that, there's Series A, B, C. So we are the pre-seed right now. We self-funded our company, our startup. So do you think it's a good idea to go right away to seed once we launch the MVP, which is, we're talking about between 2 million to 8 million, right? We got to use for product, marketing, and sales. So do you think it's a good idea to have that?
There's two optimal times to raise money, okay? There's before you figure it out, and there's after you figure it out. And the worst time is when you're in the middle of that curve, okay? Because what happens is, in the early stages of the MVP, the EAP program, the coming soon launch page, essentially, in many ways, you can kind of manufacture traction. Let's be honest. Like, I'm a founder and I'm also an investor. So I understand that, hey, a certain activity shows a certain type of activity volume, like Google Analytics. So if I do X, I get a little bit of traffic. Well, if I do X in a certain sequence over a certain period of time, I can manufacture a growth curve. Does that make sense? If I have a beta list of people that opt in to be notified when I subscribe or I launch, and I systematically every day allow 2 people, 3 people, 4 people into my system, and then somebody asks me to look at my numbers, I can create that traction, right? So what I always tell people is, there is the point where there's enough there for you to tell a compelling story of how you're going to create a $100 million a year company over the next 7 years. That's kind of the ballpark, right? And it doesn't mean that you have high revenue. It doesn't mean that that you figured it all out. If anything, you don't want to figure too much stuff out. You just want to show there's a there, right? Because think of it this way: what an investor's investing in, and I have a bunch of videos online about this, around like the team and the product and the size of the market, all these things. But like, if we even took a step back and said, what is it? It's 100% the people, right? Do I believe they're willing to put their head through a wall to make this work? And I don't even care if it's this thing that works. Do I want to make a bet on the people? At the pre-seed level, it's 100% on the people. And is there enough of a data point to show me that my assumptions, if I believe that there's this vision, right, of a multi-billion-dollar market, and you can paint that story clearly, crisply, Okay. In language I understand, not language you want to communicate, but my language. And I believe you have the right team. And then the kicker, and if you see me talk about fundraising, which I have a bunch of trainings on, is can you create enough demand for your round to create a competitive process? Because if I'm only talking to one investor, probability of closing #money in the bank, low. But if I've got 15 investors and I'm making a commitment to close my round in August, I know I'm going to get the right people. Those are the factors. It's, can I tell a story how this thing becomes a big business? Can I show them enough data points to show that there's a thing there, but not too much so that they can run the spreadsheets? That's the other people. Sometimes people launch and then they're going and they're like, look, we have 26 customers. It's like, yeah, but you've only added 2 a week for the last 6 months or 9 months or a year, right? So you're not showing growth. You're just showing sideways, right? So like, just know that there's, before you figure it out and you can control it, and then afterwards where you go through this journey and this valley of just struggling to finally it pops, and now you can go and tell a compelling story. Because it's easy to paint the picture of the future, right? But they're going to look at the present to confirm their assumptions about that potential future.
Got it. Thank you very much.
I want to ask you guys real quick, what did you take away? What resonated the most for you around our conversation today?
I'll say language, like use the right language and the right audience. I think we definitely should not assume that the other side understand what we're talking about. Echo marketing was great. The learning process, I think, is a good call. And more practically, the customer discovery call is something we should definitely do a bit more. I know you don't like the MVP process, that where we jump in MVP directly. We should probably focus on clickable prototype. I saw that, but MVP
I also know that sometimes you have to go through the pain to really appreciate the lesson. Okay. My brother, one time, he started a home building company, and I let him go through the pain of managing his own financials. And then one day I introduced him to a bookkeeper, and he asked me, why didn't you tell me this a year ago? And I said, you wouldn't appreciated how important it was. You would have fought with me on why you should pay people to do something you could do. So I get that. It's your journey. Ryan, what'd you take away?
Well, definitely. We have to focus on people before anything else. That's really important, especially for the pre-seed. We have to get traction by contacting the customers. We have to learn before we sell, right? That's learning will bring the sales, definitely. We can create groups of community as well. We can ask some questions, and based on the questions, actually, we can, pre-filter, I would say, to filter the customers, create a community, and definitely after that, we can scale, we can pre-seed, we can raise funds to investors as well.
I love it. You guys are going to have a lot of fun. I appreciate the conversation.
Definitely. Thanks for your time, Brian.
Talk soon. Have an amazing day.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.